And with that, we're going to go ahead and kind of get started. We've got a little bit, we're going to kind of go through a little bit here, just quickly here. Many of you know who we are. We're out of Phoenix, HES, Securitron, Adams, right, folder arms and alarm controls. And we are really the accessories that really help pull a lot of these systems together and make them work. You can see all the different parts and pieces that Ossobloy has within North America and South America. But we're a lot of accessories out there and a lot of the components out there that help us create a solution when it comes right down to it. And, you know, all the different solutions and options we have out there are so vast, you know, doors, hardware, frames, and stuff like that. And we're going to kind of take it down and do a little bit more granular today as we look at this. Before I get started, I'm going to have a quick poll I'm going to drop down. I'm going to go ahead and get started up here. And I have a different poll I'm going to share with you also here, but let's do our first one here. And let me kind of see how many years of experience we have out there in the industry. Let that play for just a few seconds here. And a lot of times we have a pretty good balance out there. Sometimes we have a lot of new people that have come into the industry. I'm coming in with about 25, I come in with 23 years of fire security and access controls industry side of the world, and then 7 years, plus 7 years. So it takes me about 30 years of industry experience out there. So I've got a lot of different things I've seen over the time. And I started at the very rock bottom and moved my way up over time. I finished up, I was a training manager for 140 techs on the road at one point. I finished up as a service manager. You know, so I've done a lot of different things over the years, and we've got a pretty good balance out there. Nice, real good balance, and I'm great to see out there. So thank you everyone for sharing. And then I'm going to ask you to do one more quick one. Do I have it up there? Warm-up question. Nope.
I combined it, Roger. So when you share the results, if you scroll down, that's question number 2 about the role is there.
Question, where's it at?
Scroll. Gotta scroll.
Uh-oh. Okay, so she's snuck that in on me. I did not see it. Okay, so we had 2 different questions that were sitting out there. We have a lot of experience. We can see a good mixture of the experience over the years out there, which is great to see. But then I want to come down here and kind of see, where did you kind of fit out there? And I want to kind of focus on right now on the sales and the account managers out there. Can I get a quick show of hands of the sales and account managers out there? How many of you are helping to select the actual products that are put in out there? How many of you are gathering information, and how many of you are gathering information and selecting the parts and pieces that are out there? You know, because oftentimes we think about managers and architects, oftentimes they may not get out there in the field. Okay, so everyone go ahead and put your hands down. Now can I get a choice of how many of you actually get a chance to get out in the field, meet with the customer, talk to the customer, and help them select the right parts and pieces? Can I get a quick show of hands out there? Because to me, that's one of the funnest things I get to do, I used to be able to do out there, is get out there with the customer, talk to the customer, listen to the customer and what they actually want. So we've got a relatively small number of those who are actually out there selecting the parts and pieces. So it's good to kind of see, you know, what everyone kind of does out there over time. So I'm gonna go ahead and close that out. And we've got a lot of things we're gonna kind of move through. And we are gonna have another question come up here very quickly here for you. But a lot of the parts and pieces we're gonna talk about today have lifetime, no questions asked warranty out there. We're trying to do a lot of stuff with the products that we bring out there, making sure that the product is a great quality of product. That's probably one of the most important things we do is provide that quality product out there over long term, so we know it's going to work for you. Okay. Safety, critical. I always talk about safety out there at the beginning, at the end, we kind of touch on it, but safety is critical out there. Whether you're doing the site survey, you're out there working on the job site, but safety is critical. We want everyone to go home at the end of the day. So let's go ahead and get started, because I have a multi-part question we're going to kind of work our way through here. So the customer wants me to access control this opening. So we've talked about site surveys and doing site surveys in different parts and pieces. And if you've been in my classes before, you may have seen this one before. But I'm going to bring up, so in this one here, as we take a look at this, I've got a door leading to an exterior parking garage. So I have an exterior parking garage here. I've got a set of vertical rods up here. And I'm going to bring up a quick question up here. And, you know, we're going to think about a lot of different things when we're figuring out, what am I going to do to access control this? Is it fire rated, existing hardware, surroundings, wiring, and stuff like that? And I'm going to go ahead and launch my next poll question here for you. And I want you to pick, what do you think are the best options to access control this opening? So if you can, if you go in and do the poll question, are we going to install a mag lock on it? Electrification kit, mag lock with a motion detector, a timer on it. What do you think is going to be the best option that's out there for us? Okay, so we've got a lot of looking for the electrification type of kit that's going to go with this, whether you can get it from the manufacturer or you can get it from another stores. Install a mag lock, Rex 30-second timer. Okay, good option that's out there. So different things we may consider depending on what we want to look at out there. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to end this one here. So here I'm going to share the results, and definitely going for an electrification kit makes a lot of sense out there. Whether you can get it from the manufacturer, you have to get it from someone else. Really kind of depends on who who manufactured that existing bar that's sitting out there. So I'm going to go ahead and I need to move two things around because I got something sitting in my way over here on my screen. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and twist this up a little bit. So now all of a sudden the customer comes to you and says, hey, I want to make this door a no-touch door. So at the end of the door, I want to be able to come to this door. I want to be able to have this door automatically open up for me. What are some of the things that may change? So if you can, I want you to throw in the chat. If you can, I want you to throw in the chat, if you would, for me. What do you think I need to consider different if I want to look at access controlling this? Would I use the same hardware? Would I look at putting a mag lock on the door? Or would I look at going with the electrification kit out there? So if you can, I'd like you to chat with me now and just kind of send me some chat notes. What are your thoughts on what do we want to do on this now? Are we going to change it based on the fact that the customer now wants me to go to a wireless solution that's out there? Okay, let's see what we got coming in. Okay, door operators. Okay, we're going to add a door operator. It has a latch of fire rated opening. Okay, great. We have fire rated opening. Rex, ELRs, great. Mechanical latch retraction. You need to retract the rods, keep a positive latching on the door. Very good. Fire rating. Okay, super. Operators. So we've got a lot. Great feedback. Thank you, everybody. So when we start looking at this, we start other things that we need to consider. You know, when we start considering that, adding that operator to the door, you know, it's not just dealing with the operator of the door, but adding the additional devices out there. We can see we have a cinder block wall out there. There are a lot of things that go through our mind, and this is where understanding how to do a site survey is critical to us. As we're gathering the information, what we're going to look for can change. You know, and let's say, for example, I don't want to access control this door. Let's say, for example, I don't want to access control the door, but I want to put an auto operator on the door. Sometimes we still need the same parts and pieces that are out there for access control, but maybe I just don't add a card reader out there. So different things we're considering as we look through this stuff. And I'll be the first one to tell you, I'm a big believer in keeping things separate. If I'm going to bring in something high end like an auto operator, it's going to have its own power source. You know, so I'm going to always separate that. Yes, there are some power operators out there. We're going to talk a little bit about power operators, but it's very minimal. But we're going to look at some of the other solutions that are out there. So we're going to talk about a lot of different things today. This morning, we're going to kind of start out with some of that low touch stuff out there. And we've seen a lot of this stuff change and evolve just because of our current environment in which we're in out there today. And, you know, we've seen that evolution. People don't want to touch things. We're looking at different things we can add to the doors so we don't have to touch different parts and pieces out there. You know, we've got cleaning crews that are walking around our buildings all the time, now cleaning everything up. A lot of different things we can do in that no-touch sense out there. And I'm a big fan of believing, you know, and I've done this for many, many, many years, is if I find a door I can push my way through, I'm going to turn my back to it and I'm going to push my way out of it. It's a very common thing that we do, depending on what type of a building facility in. If I can hit that bar, I can hit that latch or something with my elbow or something like that and not touch it, I'm going to do that. And I've done that for many years out there. Many years as we look at some of these different options that we have out there. So different things we're considering. And we're looking at a change in how we're operating buildings. We're seeing a huge growth in different products that are being sold. To be able to go into that touchless environment out there, we're looking at going into something that makes it easy to push or pull something, you know, that foot push or pull. Auto operators, the auto operators have been a huge sale recently. We're doing a lot of electrification to hold doors open nowadays. which is perfectly fine as long as we have that release on fire alarm in case it's part of the fire rated assembly. So all kinds of different things that we consider as we're going into some of that touchless environment. And a lot of times, I primarily grew up in the access control side of the world. But when we got into a lot of these different parts and pieces and products out there, and we worked with customers in manufacturing, we work with customers in businesses, we may find that we're using common pieces that we use in access control for something that's just as simple as an auto operator door. I need the door to be able to unlock, unlatch, so access control does not always have to be a part of auto operating a door out there. And a lot of times for us, we had to have the right partners that could help us out. We would do a lot of access control, maybe 1 or 2, 3 or 4 non-access control doors that were part of auto operators, maybe once or twice a month. So we had that partnership out there with the locksmith who could help us out. And as we move in, we're now looking at all the accessory parts that we have out there. And we think about some of the common things that we're seeing up here. I just popped up like wave switches and motion detectors and wireless transmitters and things like that we're adding to make it more convenient. And a lot of it is about convenience, not only about safety, but it's about convenience. We had more convenience than we had safety before, but now it's a lot of convenience and safety on top of everything. So I don't always need access control to be able to create some of these these situations out there that will work for a customer. So working with this stuff is important. Understanding, doing a site survey and gathering the information is really critical to what we do. And yes, we do have to pay attention to the codes that are out there. The codes are important to us. They still play a part in what we do out there. Oftentimes, the most important codes are International Building Code. That's where we get all the electronic locking hardware code standards that we're dealing with. If you're going to change something from a mechanical format to an electrified format, there's a code that applies to it. We find that in IBC and NFPA 101. And you also see the same codes in IFC as well. If you're looking at something that's part of the fire rated assembly, there you're getting into NFPA 80. So you have to identify when you're doing your site survey there again, am I working with a fire rated assembly? Those are key components to doing a site survey. And that's one of the things, like Katie and I are kind of working our way towards getting our new site survey sheet up to date. It's one of our projects that, hopefully by the next month to 2 months, we'll have it done for you. How about ADA? Oftentimes when we think about an auto operator out there, we think about it in areas where we have that handicap, the requirements for handicap to have it. We go into a public building today, you almost always have at least one door out there that has a handicapped operator on it out there. Well, it's not just for the handicap now, it's oftentimes we have that touchless environment out there. And that's really based on the situation which we're dealing with in the real world today. We've talked about over time and time again, site surveys and gathering information. And in a little bit, I'm going to show you something different that I've not shown anybody before. So it's going to be totally different here. But we've talked about these processes of doing a site survey, understanding the function, understanding codes, surroundings, existing conditions and restrictions. Those are things that maybe I'm not doing access control, and maybe I'm creating an environment that is a safe, touchless environment that's out there. A site survey is still critical as we look at and we listen to what does the customer want, and we're going to look at how do we create some of those different solutions that are out there. So here I've got just a quick rundown, a couple of things that we're kind of looking at when we're doing parts of our site surveys, and kind of a process I'm going to kind of look at it as I do this. And listening to the customer is critical. What does the customer want? A little bit later on, I'm going to show you a circuit development process that I go through when I'm developing a circuit out there. But this is kind of another way of kind of looking at it in a more simplified form out there, is creating that environment a customer wants to have, that touchless, automated, touchless solution out there. Hardware is always going to be one of the most critical things we're ever going to do. And I look at hardware in 2 components. One, hardware as the operator itself, because that's a pretty heavy duty unit up there. And then if I'm going to do access control, what type of latching device am I going to need? Oftentimes, if you're not going to do access control, you still need some type of a latching or unlatching device to work in conjunction with the door operator. And then understanding what's going to trigger it. What are the different things that we use to trigger it out there? Motion detectors, wave switches, stuff like that. Doing the site surveys with the door hardware of understanding all the different types of doors, swinging doors, revolving doors. Those are common things that we're going to look at out there. And you're going to think, when we're thinking about doing access control, we're looking at door closing and latching. When we're thinking about an automated door and a touchless solution, that door may not latch at all. It may just be a swinging door. You just want it to physically open up. It may be a push-pull door normally, but now I want it to automatically open up no matter which direction I'm flowing. So I don't need a latch out there. So different things that we're considering out there. But how am I going to trigger? Am I going to trigger it with a motion detector? Am I going to trigger it with a wave switch, different things out there. And then also considering out there that we need to understand how these switches work. How do they work? How does the customer want them and expect them to work out there when we're looking at an environment out there? And then of course, power. Power is critical to us as we look at designing these systems. And as I said before, I'm the one, I am always gonna, when I have a heavy duty piece of hardware up there, I'm gonna have a dedicated power supply for it. I'm not gonna be combining power supplies between my specialty systems and that system there. Everything else works off of a switch. It's all about switches, okay? So when we look at piecing all these different things together, a solution for just for automated, for being able to touch a touchless environment opening door versus something where I'm gonna use access control. Here you'll notice up here, I've added in a card reader out there. I can still interact these things, you know, using the same parts and pieces, the accessories that we're going to talk about. They all come from our side of the world. They're all switches and stuff like that. But we're going to change a little bit when we look at that access control side of the world. So let's go back here again. We've talked about a site survey and gathering information. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you into a scenario right now. And we're going to talk about the function. So I'm out there meeting and working with a customer. I'm out there talking with a customer and understanding what do we want, what are we going to look at, what are different things that we may create out there for a customer out there to make it work. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about a narrative. And if you've been in my site survey classes, when we talk about a function, I've talked about a narrative many different times out there. So the narrative plays a critical part in what we're going to do. And so like if I read this narrative, this is on one door only. So on the narrative here, I got the door that's normally closed, latched, and secured, presenting a valid touchless credential to the card reader. So usually proximity or something like that, and maybe my cell phone getting within a distance will unlock the electric strike and sound a buzzer. Okay, so that's that gives me valid access into the opening. But after I do that, after releasing the electric strike, the door operator will automatically open the door. So I've released the strike, I've unlatched it. The operator has a sensor built into it that will prevent the door from closing on someone. So it's got a safe zone down below it. If someone's standing in that door for an extended period of time, it will not close and hit them. Exiting will be via a touchless switch located within 10 feet of the opening. Activation of the switch will release the electric strike, energizing the auto operator to open the door. So that's an important part of what we're looking at right there, is understanding that is a functionality the customer wants to see when we're done with the installation. That is something that is gathered during the site survey. So the people that are out there that raised your hand up and said you're part of a site survey team and you're gathering information, a door narrative is critical. That door narrative should be gathered up at the very first time when you're meeting with the customer and understanding how a particular opening works. That's critical to understanding. That information also helps me understand the circuit development. I know that working with this circuit here, I'm going to be working with a normally open circuit because I have an electric strike. I present a valid card to it. The strike is energized, so I'm taking a circuit that's open and closing it. So I've started my circuit development there, right there. But now I'm talking about an interface that's going to happen with the door operator to make sure it works cleanly, it works and gives me a function that the customer wants when we're ultimately done with. Door has a key override capability, power failure, fire alarm activation, the door is still locked and secured. Okay, free egress at all times. So let's say I have a failure out there. I can still go to that door. I still have my standard hardware, whether it's a lever set or a bar, whatever else is on that door, I still have free egress. That's a good way to kind of create an operation narrative for an opening. But I'm talking now about just not access control, but also access control in conjunction with an operator using multiple different types of switches that we have out there. And if you've been in my other classes, you've seen I've shown this many times before. I've shown that development. And what I did at this time is I added in a door operator in there to show that I have door operator I have to accommodate in there. I've developed my circuit over there. Remember, the development of a circuit is hardware first. So I'm going to look at my hardware, the door operator, and whatever type of hardware, a strike, a mag lock, electrified lever set, whatever it is. And then I go into my switches. What type of switches am I going to have that are going to be out there? Loads, I need to understand power. What kind of power needs do I have when I'm out there? So different things that I'm considering. And then I'm also going to consider out there, do I need that operator out there? So the operator is critical. It's a component out there I need to detail in there. And I need to also understand separate power for it. I'm going to keep my power from my access control system separate from my power from my operators. These things will interface through switches and different relays that we put out there, but I'm not normally going to set them up as one circuit only. I'm going to split them for best operations and overall safety of my system long term, avoid any kind of power spikes or any other issues that may happen. But you minimize potential damage by separating. Auto operators are things that are going to be important to us. We're seeing a huge growth in those auto operators because we want to open up things. We want to automatically allow the door open, setting up for timed openings. There's many different functionalities that you have out there with the different operators that are out there. Is it a low use interior door? Is it a push pull type of door, heavy door? Some of these doors can range from anywhere from 50 to 100 pounds up to 500, 600, 700 pounds, the super heavy duty doors out there. You're going to have different types of auto operators that are out there. We are not going to get into the specification of auto operators out there today. Ossoboy has great teams out there worldwide to help out and support with that kind of stuff out there. So make sure if you need assistance with the operators, work with them. That's where we always came. I'd always go back to my partnerships with my locksmith, because my locksmith knew how to do auto operators as well. So there again, I talk time and time again. Have the good partners that you can work with, partners that can round out everything else that you need to do. Because my technicians back, you're talking back from 91 to 2013, I was on the industry side of fire security and access control. I cannot think of a single technician that would go after an auto operator. Never. It was always done by my locksmith guys who are our partners, and they would do it. But we're seeing a change now. We will talk about, some of the apps that are out there to help you today when we go into working with the auto operators out there. And these here, there again, if you're going to do something out there, you're going to have a fire rate assembly out there. There again, we can do some of these things out there on the doors out there, but we've got to make sure we maintain the codes and standards out there. Now, again, when we get to doing something like this, we also have to understand how the hardware is going to interact. If I'm going to have access control in conjunction with an auto operator, a low touchless type of solution where I want to touch less things out there, the hardware is just as critical. When I talk about electrified locking hardware, is just as critical now, because when I throw that switch, I need to have something that's going to unlock or release the lock, release the keeper, or release the strike plate. There are common hardwares that we're showing here that we're commonly thinking of interfacing in that application where I'm going to work it in conjunction with an auto operator. I need that latch to retract. I need the electrified latch retraction kit. It retracts my latch. It lets it go through. Or a star wheel, it lets it free spin. An electric strike, it releases a pin. I can push it straight out with the auto operator. With the latch hitting against the keeper, it'll push it out. A mag lock will release. So understanding hardware, and there are certain hardwares that will and will not work with auto operators. So you need to pay attention to the detail. There are sometimes out there where you may have that auto operator on a door that's a 24-hour door. I mean, not a 24-hour door, but let's say it's an 8 to 5 door, where someone manually goes in and dogs down the latch, and then they turn the auto operator on. I see it many different times out there, especially when you go into retail stores. Someone goes in, dogs down the latch, they turn on that auto operator on there, the door automatically opens and closes for them. So if you're going to electrification in conjunction with auto operators, you need to make sure you understand that latching so that you make sure you unlock or unlatch or release before you allow it to that operator function. We're going to take a quick run through some of the different devices that we have out there. And devices are critical. When we think about devices, we're going to kind of break it down in the motion type versus wave type. And these are critical because this is where it's more about the solution out here. So when I look at the solution out here, I'm talking about that pattern of coverage that we have out there. And this is critical when it comes to an application. we look at the devices out there. It's a motion detector. It has an adjustable view window. It has switches out there. It has adjustability for timing and LEDs. But to me, oftentimes, it's really about that pattern that's out there when it comes to an application out there. We're going to be out there doing a site survey, and maybe I have a front door I come into, but along that front door is a major traffic way that crosses across it. There I'm going to run into potential issues with, anybody going across that opening now is going to inadvertently open up that door every single time it pops it, and we're going to get a lot of extra wear and tear on our operators. So picking and choosing the proper switch and the functionality of that switch, of how it sets up on an opening, is really critical. Time and time again out there, you see someone, that sensor is not adjusted correctly. Anybody gets within 10 feet of that door, boom, it's popping, it's opening up continuously over and over again. There again, it needs some type of adjustment that's going to happen against it. So we need to figure out the right solution, knowing and understanding the product. So when you're out there doing the site survey out there, we got about 5 or 6 hands that popped up, say they're out there doing the site survey, looking at the parts, understanding, talking to the customer what they want to do, but we've got to understand the solution that's going to fit. And this is where application of how we can set up that individual device is critical to us. So we have the right part and pieces. I don't know how the salespeople out there are set up out there for payment, but we looked at payment is based on overall sale, percentage of it, overall profit based on time it actually took to do the job. So understanding the right parts and pieces is very critical if I'm selecting those parts and pieces. What and how does that product work in the application we're dealing with out there? Maybe a motion detector doesn't work just because I've got too much cross traffic happening in that area. You're not going to change the culture of people walking across that opening. So what are my other solutions out there? Maybe I go to a wave switch out there. A wave switch with there again, I'm looking at the benefits and features become really important to me at this point out there. And these will come in like a single or a double gang, but I'm looking at over here, single pole, double throw, standard switch. But I'm looking at stuff like this over here where I'm understanding the application of it. I can go from 4 inches out to 24 inches out here. And do I want to set it up on a pulse where it pulses for 5 seconds and then shuts off? Or do I want to use it as a toggle where I'm toggling it on and off out there? This is where you have to get down into the granular side of understanding product and application. So this is the fun part to me. You have to understand the product and the application. How does it apply out there? And to me, trust me, I'm the hardest candidate I can have. I'm the hardest I can be on me out there, because if I pick the wrong part or pieces because I didn't understand it, it's my fault. And I knew I'd probably lose a little bit of my commission because I messed up on it. So learning to understand the parts and pieces is critical out there. We're changing technologies constantly out there. We're going for environmental things out there where we're dealing with stainless steel. We want to have someplace that has an impact capability. The NTS-1 is one of my favorite products out there because of the fact that it will take that impact. I can show you this one over here, the wave switch. It's a great product and it's supposed to be a wave switch, but I don't know how many times I've seen the plastic, the cap is broken around the side of it because someone actually smashes it. Happens time and time again. I like the stainless steel side of this, whether you're putting it on the inside or the outside application, but there again, it's different. This is where I've only got, my range is limited. So I've got to figure out what my application is going to be when I'm working on it, when I'm working out, let's say, for example, I'm working with a customer at a hospital and the customer wants it, has a cross set of doors and a hospital doors that are open. And I'm coming up to that opening and I want it to be able to open up. I need to understand what does the customer want to function, at what distance do I want it to be able to function. If I'm pushing a cart or a bed or something like that in front of me, I want to make sure I've got that switch at a far enough location away from the door so I can reasonably activate it. But I don't want to necessarily have a 24-inch range on that switch out there. I may want a tighter range out there because maybe anybody walking up and down, maybe I'm not going through the doors. I don't need the doors to auto-operate and open. So I take that down to a little bit tighter range out there, listening to the customer and how they want it to work. What type of time frame do they want it to work? Here we've got 2 different solutions. I've got one that will go up to 24 inches, another one that will go to 4 inches. It gives me different timer capabilities. The other one had a 5-second timer versus here I've got up to a 35-second timer out there. So learning and understanding your options and the switches that we have out there is critical in creating that solution. We also have wireless transmitters out there becoming much more common out there, especially when you get into some of these smaller retail stores out there. The retail stores out there, oftentimes, you know, you've got that clerk or you got that manager that's out there wandering around, and they kind of watch the customers that are in there. If you see them being really touch sensitive right now, because I know when I go into certain places, I'm really touch sensitive. I don't touch it unless I need to touch it out there. But a lot of times you may see that where, you know, you're sitting there signing, you're cashing out, you're buying everything you need, and the cashier would just sit there and push a button, and all of a sudden that door is popping open for you when you walk out the door. And we can do that wirelessly transmitted as well, up to 300 feet out there. So there are different solutions that are being created out there when you're working with a customer to create something that is going to work for them. That's where it really comes into listening, creating that door narrative. Here we even got more different types of solutions here. I've got a motion detector that gives you a real tight beam on it. So let's say, for example, I go back to the cross corridor. I've got a door that's an entry door, and I've got a cross corridor with a lot of traffic out there. Here we've got a different solution that's out there that gives you a straight drop down window straight down in front of it. It only goes down a certain distance, 28 to 48 inches down, but I can also reduce some of the issues I may have with thermal heat, because we have had sometimes, occasionally out there, you have the issue with thermal heat that's out there, or you have someone sliding something underneath the door trying to activate the sensors out there. So we've changed the technology. The technology is getting better and better out there. You just need to kind of figure out what's going to work as a best solution out there. Okay, let's go ahead. We're going to look at some different types of solutions that are out here, because I kind of look at this way. Is a long time ago, I was teaching my daughter how to bake and how to do different cooking things like that. And I do like to cook. When I was working with my daughter, I said, when you're cooking, your only restriction you have is your own imagination and what you can and can't do out there. We're going to run across all kinds of different solutions that I pretty much have been into almost every type of environment I can be when I've been out there doing site surveys. I've been in nuclear sites out there. I've been into manufacturing. I've been into wastewater. I've been into schools, many different environments out there. And I can pretty much tell you there is an opportunity for an opportunity to create that touchless solution out there, that opportunity to create where we're going to open up those doors automatically. So there's a lot of different solutions out there. Just, keep your mind open. Like I said, we're only limited by our own imagination. Everything out there is done by a switch. We've got a class coming up on switches where we're going to talk more about that, but everything's about a switch. There's almost a solution for everything you're going to run across when you're working with a customer out there. Schools, great opportunity right now. We're seeing a lot of growth in the school environment because there again, we're reducing the touching that we're going to have out there. Medical, science, research, huge growth areas out there where we can look at adding in the additional devices. Things where we don't want to touch some of the environment things out there. I remember one of the first times I did a clean room environment. The building is about a 50,000 square foot facility that had, I think, 7 or 8 clean rooms inside the building itself. And when you're working with something like that, you're dealing with multiple levels of clean, where you're not touching anything. And a lot of times we're working with, we had to, this is where we brought in our locksmith to take a look and help us really do a solid site survey on what was being provided by the customer, how we were going to open up those doors. They did not want to touch anything. When you're going from level 1 into level 2 and then level 2 into level 3, different levels of cleanliness, there is no contact with anything. So we're not touching anything. We need those doors to be able to open. They need to be able to secured. So we're using, different things such as motion detectors. We may use, maybe we don't use a motion detector. Maybe we go to a wave switch, because if I have a motion detector, if I'm in the room just kind of working, doing things, getting ready, I don't want to inadvertently continually tripping. So I may go to a simple wave switch that's near a wall. I want to be close to proximity to it. When it activates, I activate it, the door opens up and lets me in through it. We're seeing a lot of that growth area, especially in hospitals right now. We want everything to automatically open up as we go through this. Contact has become one of those bad things that nobody wants to talk about. Everyone's trying to be clean. If we're not, we're going back and we're scrubbing and we're washing our hands repetitively with sanitizer and soap or whatever we have okay? Common businesses, everyday businesses that we have out there, exits. We're leaving a building, very common, huge growth area out there. Working with the customer, how do you want that solution to work? Are we working with single doors, double doors? Do I need one door to activate, or do I need multiple doors to activate? How do I want it to work? There again, most of the time we're dealing with getting into tight proximity. I don't want a motion detector sitting up above the opening up there, because what if someone comes up and has a conversation out there and they're continually inadvertently tripping that door, opening it up? I'm going with a wave switch type, but I still have and maintain free egress if I need it. If I need to plow out of that door, can I hit that bar and still free egress? Yes, that has got to be code compliant. We're looking at different environments where the second one over here is an elderly care facility. With that application there, we can touch that switch, or we can get close proximity to the switch without touching it. And I like the NTS one because it also has a backup on it just in case. But keeping your minds open to the different types of operators that are out there and what are the applications that are going to fit with the customer. So we're looking at different things all the time. Here, I've got an interior application. So I've gone from that work on the perimeter to something that's on the interior of the building. And I do apologize, I could not get the animation to work on this one here, but on this one here, this is an executive. So he's sitting in his office working, you've got a conversation happening on the outside. He has a capability with a wireless transmitter to push that button and that door will automatically close for him. So there again, we're creating solutions, listening to the customer, how they want to work, how they want to function, and putting it out there. Okay, here, common push-pull doors, restrooms, no contact. Nobody wants to touch anything with the restrooms going in or going out. Big solution that's been growing out there, been growing for probably the last 10 to 15 years. I've probably been into probably a couple of dozen facilities now where the restrooms have the auto operators on them going in, coming out. We don't want to touch anything. Here again, even in public schools, public facilities out there, we're getting more and more. It's easy to add the operators up above the door, and yet I still have an app. I'm going to show you later on that makes it a little bit easier, because a lot of access control people, especially the smaller access control companies, they don't want to turn down business. If you've got, if you're doing access control, you're doing security within a building, I'm one who never wants to let another vendor come in and potentially be close to what I do. So if I've got a customer that wants to put an auto operator on the door, I'm calling my locksmith up. He's my locksmith. He's honest to me, or he's loyal to me. I'm loyal to him. We share business out there. I'm going to let my locksmith, I'm going to say, hey, I'm going to send my locksmith out there. He'll take care of you. I don't want that customer calling another locksmith or another somebody else to come out and do it. I want to limit the vendors I'm competing in within any facility out there. So if my techs can't do it, I'm going to give it to my partners, maintain it, keep it in-house as much as I can. Okay. Here, a perimeter door. So here I've got an issue out there where I had to look at really, what are we doing with this perimeter door out there? Because I want to have a touchless solution that's out there, the touchless solutions coming along due to COVID right now, but I had access control out there. We've got double Herculite all glass doors on top, no rods across the door, no latching across top of the door. So I had to put mag lock on top of the door. So I've got two single mag locks on top of the door. I've got a 30-second timer in conjunction with it. Then we have the operator that was put on top of it, a handicapped operator out there. And then we started looking at, okay, I want to be able to have a waveless solution out there. I can trip that operator off of my card reader to actuate. So with a card reader on the outside of the building, I can do a valid card read with it. It's going to unlock my mag lock, and then it's going to function operate my door operator to auto operate. It gives me that touchless solution. So we're integrating the parts and the pieces together to create the solution. We also have that handicap button. So on the outside of the building, there's a handicap button sitting on the outside. So if I do a valid card read, the door will automatically open automatically. But let's say, for example, a visitor comes and the visitor comes, they talk to our receptionist at the front of the door. The receptionist now has the capability of hitting a wireless transmitter capability that will unlock the mag lock and then auto operate the door. So we're using multiple different types of switches when we're creating a solution for the individual customers out there, but we still have to pay attention to the codes, electronic locking hardware codes, free egress codes, all the different standards that we have to maintain when we're creating a solution for the customer. Shipping and receiving doors, high traffic areas out there. We're working with, creating that solution for the customer. If we've got a lot of traffic coming in and out of the door, I may want to be able to create that so we can take and we can add in an operator on the door. We can add in a wireless solution here. We can wave to open up the door. We'll probably even set up a wireless transmitter capability. So if I've got someone calling in or out a bunch of boxes, I'm going to hit that button, allows that door to auto open up, creates a lot less hassle letting that person move freely in and out of that door. You can also have those solutions on the outside. Here again, there we're looking at what am I creating on the outdoor of this application out there. Finding here, I've got an outside door. I've got a bollard out there. We can use that bollard out there. I can put a card reader on it. I can also put a wireless solution. So let's say from 8 to 5, I've got a heavy traffic area. I'm going to move a lot of materials in and out. I use a pedestrian door as much as I can. There again, we're going to allow for that environmental situation. I'm going to bring in products. I'm going to use probably in this situation an NTS1 because I can create that in a weatherproof environment out there. It's stainless steel. It can be sealed with a weatherproof gasketing. Simple, easy way to add access control, give us remote access, makes it easier for our customers to move in and outside of our buildings. There again, it's finding the right products that will meet the solution. After hours, I can shut off that wireless, or I can shut off that wave switch. So after hours, maybe I shut off the wave switch. I have to do a valid card read. That will in turn light up my wave switch. Now I can wave at it. My door is unlocked. My auto operator will automatically unlock my door for me. So I can set it up into timed solutions as well. Okay, businesses, standard business applications. People moving in and out of a building, we want those doors to be opened up. We can put in auto operators on tops of the doors, single doors, double doors, that wave switch. There again, what is my distance? You have to understand the application so we're not automatically tripping it, anytime someone gets too close to it. Maybe at some point we go to the point where we're going to magnetically hold those doors open. Okay, so we hold them open because they're functioning too much and they break down and they wear out over time. So finding the proper product that we're going to use in conjunction, that touchless solution that best fits, whether it's a motion detector or some type of a wave solution. Okay, power is critical. Understanding power is critical. And one of the best solutions that Ossobloy has come up, that works with now is the intelligent power supply through Life Safety. Life Safety has given us the capability of creating a networking solution that not only works for us to be able to provide better support for the customer, but also solutions that work better for the end user themselves. And it gives them capability for monitoring many different components with this. So we can tie in not only using this with access control, but we can also monitor other parts and pieces of other power supply systems with this. So it's finding solutions out there that work with the customer, finding that network capability where we've got the solution that lets the customer know there's a problem sooner than later. As you get into these bigger and bigger buildings, we get into these tower buildings out there, everything they're doing when they're designing the systems is based on network monitoring capability. The life safety side of power supply for Ossobloy gives us a solution out there where we can do the monitoring, we can monitor the power supply, we can monitor batteries, a lot of monitoring functionality that can be monitored by the end user first. And we see it as a backup. It can also allow us for networking servicing capability for the customer from the networking side of life safety, where they can provide additional customer support side as well for maintenance and service. It improves the overall relationship with it. So the life safety power supply, if you're not familiar with it, definitely spend a little bit of time with our team out there. I'm guessing Katie's probably putting it back up there on the chat. With that, we're almost done here. We've got a lot of support out there. For the customer, the Ossobloy customer support app, I highly recommend anybody out there, if you're out there doing a site survey, you're gathering information, you're a technician, you have trouble, you need support, you need to look at a document. This app is for everybody, especially anybody out there, anybody in the field that's working out there. You can call in, you can talk to us, you can live stream video to us when you're on the job site. You can send us an email, you can chat with us. And there's also a huge resource center sitting behind there. So all the parts and pieces, whether it's an HES, Norton Power Operators, whatever it is, there's resources that are back there that are there to help you, okay? There's a lot of specials going on out there in creating solutions out there in conjunction with the operator, the hardware, the switches, a lot of different promos that are happening. Use those to your advantage. And I'm going to show you this guy right up here. So up here, I've got an operator, and right there is a symbol that I put right next to it. And that symbol is a representation for the Built app. The Built app is a third-party app that was designed by someone to show his customers how to put together a Weber grill. So the guy who owns Weber Grill realized that men don't like to read instructions. So he asked a friend of him to create an app, and they created the Built app. So this is in any Android or Apple, whatever you have out there. Also, a boy saw it and said, we really like this. And we have currently about 95 products that we currently use up there. But imagine an app that is designed to work on anybody's mobile device, that is designed with full 3D animation capability, and it will show you in a step-by-step process how to put something together in 5 to 10 second snippets. So it literally will say, step 1, this is what you're going to do with it. It'll show you and it'll tell you, so you can put a little earbud in and you can watch and listen how to do it. And you can literally do step 1, do step 2, one step at a time, and work your way through step by step how to put something together. It is the best app I've ever seen out there. If we had this app, 10, 15 years ago, man, we would be so much more profitable. And we did a great job. We made a lot of money and stuff like that. But if we had an app out there that would help my technicians in the field put something together step by step by step, because our older technicians out there would spend hours out there trying to figure something out. They were stubborn. They would not follow my 10-minute rule. I said, if you can't figure it out in 10 minutes, use the app. Well, if we think about this, if we go back prior to this, if you called tech support and you waited online 2 to 3 to 4 hours, that's a lot of wasted time. But imagine an app out there that'll show you how to put something together. And the Norton operators, I think they have 3 or 4 different Norton operators out there that will show you how to put something together step by step by step. This is something I think I could give to an access control technician and have them figure out how to put something together. You can take it home, you can watch it the night before, you can sit there and watch it. Instead of trying to read the instructions while you're trying to put something together, you can watch an app that will literally step by step walk you through it, because we all know men do not like to read instructions. Okay, so a great, phenomenal app that's there. Okay, here, just additional support information. Use our app, download the app so you have them, make sure your technicians have them out there, and follow my 10-minute rule. If you can't figure it out, reach out to us and let us help you. And with that, I'm going to say thank you.